you to do is to break that lease, to get rid of the front by yourself, or, and then for the county attorney's office, you can go there. Legal aid is also downtown. You might want to contact them and see, you know, I mean, at this time, you don't know really what to do, so you might be able to contact them and see what they recommend.
Ms. Silva, if you can unmute.
Yes, I am unmuted now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bernal, if you can unmute.
I just did.
Okay, thank you.
You're
If you each
welcome.
raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes,
I
sir.
do. Yes.
I do.
Ms. Bernal, you want to tell me? Sorry, Ms. Silva, I'm sorry. Ms. Silva, you want to tell me about this suit?
Yes, so I had looked at one of his properties on initially on May 31st. On June 18th, I notified him, or he asked me if I was still interested in the apartment. I let him know yes, that I would be there by 11 o'clock. I did show up. He let me know.
Wait, you're cutting out there. He let you know what?
He let me know that it would be $575 deposit and $775 for rent for a month in advance. I did provide 2 money orders, one for the deposit and one for the rent. He provided me with the key. He did not have a lease. He said he forgot it, even though we had been talking about the property for a little under a month. And he said he would provide me with the lease at a later time that he had forgotten. He said to set up electricity under my name. I did on the 21st, and I stopped by the apartment
21st of what?
of June.
Okay.
And I stopped by to see, make sure that the electricity was set up. That is the second time that I viewed the apartment. It looked fine. He asked me when I was going to move in, and I let him know I was going to move in that weekend, which would have been the 25th of June. On June 24th, I stopped by the apartment. This was after 5 o'clock. This was like at 6 o'clock. And that's when I encountered 2 issues. One of them, the apartment smelled like marijuana, foul odor coming from like the whole apartment. And then the second one was that as I'm, moving in cleaning supplies, I know there was a tenant. I would have been apartment 14. 15 is where the smell was coming from. And 16, I was at a corner at the very edge. 16 is where a tenant came out. And as I'm walking up, it's like a ramp. She bumped me on the shoulder. And I thought it was kind of strange. And then there was a lot of back and forth going on, a lot of family. I felt like it was aimed towards me and my sister, who was going to help me move a couple of things. And it was a bunch of profanity. I felt like I said it was aimed towards me. So I did not move in. I called Mr. Bernal the next day on the 25th, and I let him know that I had encountered an issue with tenant on apartment 16. He right away knew who I was talking about, because he said, oh, is she heavy set? Is she Hispanic? She said, I've had issues with her in the past. She's very loud, abrasive. She's disrespectful. And he said, what I'm going to do, give me an opportunity to work with you. I'm going to speak to her. And then I'm also going to find out about apartment 15, about this odor coming from it. I called him at noon. He said, I will get back to you by the end of the day and let you know if I'm going to be doing any evictions. He did not get back to me that afternoon. I waited the 26th, the 27th, nothing, the 28th. So finally on the 29th, I text him and I called him and then I had no answer. I text him again and I said, look, I just can't move in. I have a toddler. Like it smells really bad. And, I just don't feel that this would be a great time to move in, especially if you're going to ask tenant on apartment 16, like, hey, did you have a confrontation? I'm like, now I feel like there might be retaliation. And he said he would not return the money. He said, nope, I can't give you any of the money. Like, I'm not going to give you any of it. And then so that's when I sent a deposit, a demand letter indicating that if I didn't get the money back, that I would take the civil action suit. And he did send me a money order for $575. He did give me that, but he said that he would not return the $775 for the month in advance. He said that he had not rented that apartment as of yet. And so it felt like he was faulting me, but he never took down his Craigslist ad. So, but he's saying that he won't give me $70 because he unable to the apartment. This took place when he reached out to me to tell me about the deposit and that he would not be returning the $775.
Okay.
And that's why I had to take this route.
Mr. Bernal, do you have any questions of Silva?
Well, sir, I did provide the leases. I left them in the apartment. I believe.
Just a minute. Do you have any questions of Ms. Silva?
I want to ask her if I did. I want to tell her that I did ask her that I would talk to the tenants.
Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I did provide the leases. I left them inside her apartment in the kitchen countertop, which she took
When?
and never signed. That's one
When?
thing. I did
When were the leases?
provide 2 leases, sir.
When?
Excuse me?
When? When were the
I
leases
believe it was
provided?
on Tuesday the following week. Tuesday the following week.
What's the
When
following
she
week
paid
of what?
When she paid the rent on the deposit, it was on a Friday, late afternoon Friday. And I filled out the contracts. I asked for her photo of her driver's license, social security card, and I filled out 2 contracts and asked her to go ahead and read them and for her to please return one to me. She never did that.
We need
Also-
to, just a minute. We need to find out when the date is. I don't know when 10 weeks is from when she paid the rent. If I don't know when she paid the rent, I don't know what 2 weeks from then is.
Okay. I left the contracts in her apartment on the 21st.
On June 21st.
Yes, sir. On the 18th, I gave her keys for the apartment. She also asked me to remove the refrigerator because she was going to bring her own. I also did that. When she had this issue about the smell, I called her surrounding apartments. I didn't get a hold of anyone that day. That's the reason I didn't call her back. And when I spoke to that girl that she's referring to, that she started an altercation with her, she said that was not true, that she was parked in the middle and she was not letting people go up the ramp because she was moving in her belongings to the apartment. She also moved her belongings in the apartment. I don't feel that it's correct for her to take possession of the apartment for a week and a half, and then she decides that she doesn't want to stay there and she wants all her rent back.
When are you contending she took possession? What week and a half, from when to when?
Well, from the 18th, I gave her the keys. So as soon as I gave her the keys, she already has possession of the apartment right off the bat.
So June 18th to what date?
Let's see. Sir, I don't know. I think she called me on the 28th and she told me that she was going to empty out, that she wasn't going to move in. She was going to take out her belongings on the 28th.
Okay, so you're saying June 18th to June 20th?
28th.
Okay.
And she also she never returned the keys of the apartment. She still has the keys of the apartment.
Have you returned the keys to the apartment?
No, sir. The reason I did not return the keys is because when I spoke to him on the 25th, I asked him, when can I return your keys? Because I am not going to be moving in. And he right away said, I'm not returning anything. And I said, well, yeah, but I still want to return the keys. And he right away said, I'm not returning anything, your deposit or your rent. And
Well,
so
he returned the deposit.
Yes, sir.
he did after the demand letter. Yes, Your
Did you
Honor.
return the keys in then?
No, sir, because right after, it took a demand letter for him to return the deposit. So at that point, I didn't feel that, I had asked him twice, when can I return the keys? And every single time he just said, I will not be returning anything. So he never gave an opportunity.
That was
or a-
before he gave you the security deposit. After he gave you the security deposit, did you return the keys?
No, sir.
There you go.
And when was that? When did you get the security deposit?
Mailed it. Received the letter on July 21st.
July 21st, you got the security deposit?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Sir,
sir.
she could have simply just left the keys inside the apartment and locked the door, and she could have left the keys there very, very easily, very simply. She could have left the keys inside the apartment. She never did so. So she still has possession of the apartment.
Well, may I add that I don't have possession because you sent a receipt indicating that somebody else is in the apartment since July 20th.
Exactly.
So I don't
That's
have
1
possession
month.
of the
That's
apartment.
1 month. That's 1 month after the month that you were there.
So
I
somebody
rented the
moved,
apartment
just a minute, just a
exactly
minute.
1 month
Stop,
after the 18th.
stop. When did you re-rent the apartment?
On the 20th, sir, of July.
Okay, what did her monthly term run? What was the period of time for her monthly term? When did it start? When did it end?
From the 18th of June to the 7th, July 18th. That's 1 month.
Okay,
I received a deposit on the 20th, not on the 18th, until the 20th of July. I rented that apartment. So all that month, that apartment was vacant.
okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
What?
Also, I might add, if it makes a difference on both receipts, I put non-refundable on the rent and the deposit, which you have, sir.
When she
I
paid
wrote
it?
it down and I told her, make sure you're gonna move into this apartment, and if you like it, because I cannot return this any money back to you, because there are people that want to rent, and you, as soon as I give you the keys and I take your money, this apartment pertains to you. And that's the reason I put non-refundable on the receipt of the deposit and on the rent. And she said she agreed with that. And she never, again, sir, she never signed the contracts. I left them in her apartment. She did take the contract. She didn't leave them there. She took them with her, and she never signed them. She never gave them back to me. And she never returned the keys of the apartment.
Ms. Silva, what about the contracts? Were they there?
Like I said, I went to the apartment on June 21st.
Were the
Because-
leases there?
No, sir. And there was no way of me knowing that there
Wow.
was a lease because he didn't make that
Wow.
connection
Wow.
with me.
Sir, that is not true. I left her 2 leases, one for me and one for her. That is not true, sir.
Okay.
That is
Where
not
did you
true.
leave them?
I
Where
left
did
them on the I left them on the kitchen countertop. She is not telling you the truth.
You didn't find any leases on the kitchen countertop, Mrs. Silva?
No, sir.
Wow.
I went on the 21st to make sure that my electricity was set up because he had mentioned that he was going to disconnect the air conditioning. He said, as soon as you have electricity, let me know. I called the electric company. They told me on the 21st that it was set up. I went on the 21st. I actually bumped into him on the 21st because I didn't know what switches were for the air conditioning. I messaged him and he said, oh no, it's the other switches. So I had conversation with him via text message and in person on the 21st. He did not make any mention of a lease, and there was no lease on the counter or anywhere.
Did you make a mention of it?
Yes, sir. Matter of fact, I have
I'm
a
asking
text
Ms.
message
Silva,
here.
did you make a mention of it?
On the 21st, yes, sir. I asked, where is my lease? Because on the 18th,
So where you asked, where is my lease? What was his response?
he still didn't have it.
What was his response?
He said, I don't have it. On the 18th, Your Honor, when he put non-refundable on both receipts, he said, I'm putting non-refundable only because I don't have a lease. But he already knew that I was gonna go and,
Why would that make
I'm
it?
sorry, on the receipts, I apologize. He put non-refundable on the receipts, the deposit and the rent. And he didn't have a lease that day, even though I provided him with both money orders. And he said, I'm gonna put non-refundable. And he said, well, because I've had this where somebody moved in. And said, okay, I'm like, and he said, no, I will provide that at a later time. I said, but you will change it, right? And then I proceeded to ask him, what would cause my deposit to be non-refundable? He said, he gave me reasons like if there's more than normal wear and tear, if there's holes, if there's permanent ink on the walls, things like that. And then I said, okay, but he said he was only doing that because he had forgotten to provide me, to bring a lease that day, even though he knew that I was going to go and see the apartment. We had spoken at 8 a.m.
Sir,
So he said he was only putting non-refundable because he didn't have a lease available at that moment.
sir, may I speak?
Sure.
Sir, that what she just told you is not true. The reason that I put non-refundable on the deposits because I've had previous tenants leaving the deposit, and a later date they come and they want the deposit back for any reason. And when they leave me the deposit, I hold that apartment for that particular tenant, and that's the reason I put non-refundable, because people come back in a later time asking back for their deposit. And during that course of time, there are other people that want to rent the apartment, and basically that apartment is rented to that person. And sir, I have proof here that I did leave the leases. I left you a copy, sir. If you want to look at one of the text messages that says we had a verbal agreement. This is
where would be the text? Where would the text message?
We had a
be?
verbal agreement. I left you. You should have copies, sir. It was on the 30th of June. This is when we're going back and forth.
Just a minute. Did you email this
verbal
in?
agreement?
Mr. Bernal?
No,
Send
I
this
went
in?
there. I went in there personally, sir, and they took copies of
Okay.
all the papers.
I'm just trying to find
I
out.
went there
what-
personally.
Judge,
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, Judge, but Judge, I'm sorry to interrupt, but they're on the case.
Okay.
They're on the.
You see from
they're-
tenant, I'm looking at the different, just a minute.
I can read it to you, sir, if you like.
Just a minute. Let me find it, Mr. Bernal. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
The receipts are here. Maybe these are emails, 4 emails. Okay.
It's a text. It's basically a text, and it's dated on June 30th on a Wednesday, and you could read what it says on that text that I sent her.
Okay, I'm trying to bring it up on the screen so everybody can see it. One
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is a text. Is this a text you're?
No, sir. Well, that's also, she's on that particular text. She's saying that she's willing to take 10 days off of the rent. That's one text. Also, I think if you go to the next text message,
Okay,
there you go. If you could read the first text in bold letters about we had a verbal agreement, read that, sir. And she
had a verbal
she will
agreement.
tell you-
You've had the possession of the apartment since June 18th of June. Just because you chose not to sign the rental contract does not release you of any obligation of the apartment.
So why would I say that, sir? if I didn't
Let me
have a
finish
contract?
reading it, Mr. Bernal. Stop.
Okay.
I
I'm
will
sorry,
talk to
sir.
the surrounding apartments next to it. And you have a tolerance. I'm willing to work with you in that regard. Thank you. Ms. Silva, I'm willing to return your deposit amount if I certain, but in regards to the rent, you did take possession of the apartment by accepting the keys and moving into your belongings in the apartment. The apartment remains vacant to this day. Okay. And what is this one? This is you should have left the keys inside the apartment. Okay. 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 So Mrs. Silva, why didn't you respond? I never got a lease when he says it about the lease.
Because I had already mentioned to him on the 25th that I wasn't moving in. On the 21st,
Okay,
He
on June
only-
30th, he sent you a text saying you chose not to sign the rental contract. Why didn't you respond? You never gave me a rental contract.
Exactly.
because I responded, I didn't mention anything about the verbal agreement because I was not going to move in. He had already, I sent in a message. He had said the reason that it didn't, next door because of 78-year man that has liver failure and smoked it for pain. So the minute that I smelled marijuana, I was not moving in. So whether he claims that he left a verbal agreement, I didn't respond to it because I had already mentioned to him twice, I'm not moving in. And then the fact that he admitted that there's marijuana.
Two separate things.
I'm sorry?
Those are two separate things. Go ahead.
Right. And so the minute that he says that, yes, he is aware that somebody smokes marijuana next door, even more of a reason, which I gave him two reasons why I wasn't moving in. One, the foul odor, which he admitted to. Somebody is illegally smoking marijuana next door, and where I would have lived.
How is he responsible for that?
Thank you.
How is he responsible for that? Well, I mean, if there's
For the acts of third parties, how is he responsible for the acts of third parties?
I mean, you would think that he would want his community to be drug-free. I mean, it's against the law to smoke marijuana. So if it's
Agreed, but why not call the police?
Well, I wasn't a tenant. As far as I was concerned, I wasn't a tenant, but I let him know.
You don't have to be a tenant to report something, illegal activity.
Okay. I figured he would be the one to report it. I wasn't going to live there. I figured he was going to handle it.
Well, he attempted to. Apparently, he tried.
Yeah, he tried until not when I told him. I told him on the 25th. He didn't respond till July 20. On the 25th of June, he didn't respond until July 21st. That's when he said that he knew why the person next door smelled or smoke, why it smelled like that. So he didn't respond about the marijuana till July 21st, even though I had told him on the 25th.
Okay, anything else?
Yes, sir. When on this text message, when it says that we had a verbal agreement, I'm talking about the receipts because she never signed the contracts. When I'm writing, we had a verbal agreement. That means that on the receipts, it had non-refundable. That's what I'm talking about. I did leave her the contracts, and she took them with her, and she never brought them back. She could have very well just left them in the kitchen. She could have very well dropped off the keys and locked the door, and she could have left. She never provided me with that. And when I told her that I would talk to the tenants, she said, "Don't talk to them because they're gonna retaliate against me, and I don't want you to talk to them anymore." That's what she told me. And sir, that person that I found out, it's a elderly man with his father. His father was 82 years old. He had liver cancer. Since now, he already passed away. They buried him in Chicago. And this is a God honest truth. Since I rented that apartment since July 20th, sir, I have had not one complaint of the new tenants about any cigarette smoke, marijuana smoke, nothing, no complaints at all. And they're middle-aged people. They're not young kids. They're middle-aged people in their 50s. And that's all I have to say, sir.
Okay. My judgment is for the defendant. It's a take nothing judgment. We'll email it to both of you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
No, sir.
Sure. I guess my question is, it's 775. He says I had possession from the 18th until, I called him on the 25th. That's a week. And then I told him he could take 11 days. 775 for 12 days for July, when his rent is 775 for a month.
It's not up to you what you want to give me back. It's not up to you. It's up to the judge. Exactly.
Yeah, I made my decision. He did his duty to try to re-rent it, and he got it rented a month later.
Right, but the ad was never taken down. Maybe it wasn't rented. And if somebody complains,
Sorry?
The tenant passed away. That's why no more marijuana odor.
Okay. Okay.
Sir, may I be dismissed, sir?
That's my judgment. I'm going to email it to both of you all, okay?
Thank you
Is
very
there a
much,
way
sir.
to appeal this, sir? I believe
Sure.
I read that there was a way to appeal this.
Sure. Either party can appeal it.
Okay, and would that information be on the email that you will be providing?
No. You can research that yourself. We don't give legal advice to either party. I don't instruct Mr. Bernal how to appeal it. I instruct you.
Okay, I will seek legal counsel and I will appeal the decision. Thank you.